conference room had gone quite long before midnight. Only the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Detective Ethan Mercer sat alone at the end of a long table covered with photographs, witness statements, search maps, and stacks of evidence collected during the most frustrating investigation of his career. For 41 days, Maple Hollow had been living a nightmare. For 41 days, 8-year-old Lily Bennett had been missing. No ransom demand. No confirmed suspect. No reliable witness. No body. No explanation. Just an endless trail of questions that seemed to lead nowhere. The entire town had become obsessed with her disappearance. Parents walked children to school even during daylight hours. Front doors stayed locked. Neighborhood watch groups appeared overnight. Every conversation eventually circled back to the same topic. Where was Lily Bennett? Ethan picked up a drawing from the evidence pile. A simple drawing, one of dozens recovered from Lily's bedroom. Investigators had examined it countless times. Teachers had looked at it. Parents had looked at it. Experts had looked at it. Nobody found anything unusual. Yet something continued pulling Ethan back toward it. The picture showed a cheerful summer afternoon. A small house. A bright yellow sun. Flowers. Trees. A smiling girl. The sort of drawing children create every day. His tired eyes moved across the page. House. Fence. Clods. Tree. Then he stopped. His heartbeat slowed. A strange sensation moved through him. He leaned closer. Closer. His eyes narrowed. There was something hidden among the branches. Something so small it almost disappeared into the crayon line. Ethan grabbed a magnifying lens. The room felt colder. The symbol slowly came into focus. For several seconds he simply stared. His expression changed, then changed again. The exhaustion vanished from his face. Detective Ava Collins looked up from across the... She immediately noticed. Something wrong. Ethan never answered. He slid the drawing toward her. Ava examined it. Her eyes widened. The tiny object hidden inside the tree looked deliberate. Not accidental. Not random. A small key, attached to a circular metal tag, drawn with remarkable precision. Far more precision than the rest of the picture. The detail felt intentional, almost as if Lily wanted someone to notice it. Ava looked back at Ethan. Neither detective spoke. Both understood the same thing. The investigation had just changed direction. What neither of them understood was how much. That tiny key would eventually expose a secret buried beneath Maple Hollow for more than 20 years. It would destroy friendships, reveal lies, shatter reputations, and uncover a truth that nobody in town had ever considered possible. But all of that still lay ahead. 6 weeks earlier, Maple Hollow had been known for being safe. People moved there to escape noise, crime, and uncertainty. Children rode bicycles after sunset. Neighbors borrowed tools without keeping track. Teachers knew students by name. Most residents believed serious tragedy happened somewhere else. Then Lily Bennett disappeared. And everything changed. Lily was the kind of child people remembered. Not because she was loud. Not because she demanded attention. Quite the opposite. She possessed a quiet curiosity that drew people toward her. She noticed details other children ignored. She asked unusual questions. She listened more than she spoke. And she carried a sketchbook almost everywhere she went. The world fascinated her. Trees fascinated her. People fascinated her. Secrets fascinated her. Her mother Rachel often joked that Lily spent half her life drawing and the other half observing. The truth wasn't far from reality. Many evenings, Lily sat by her bedroom window sketching whatever caught her attention. Birds, clouds, neighbors, old buildings, paths through the woods. Things most people never noticed. Things most people forgot. Lily remembered everything. Her father, Michael Bennett, worked long hours managing a construction company outside town. Reliable, disciplined, respected, the sort of man who planned every detail of his life. Rachel worked at the local library. Warm, patient, the person everyone trusted. Together they had built a stable home, at least from the outside. Like many families, they carried private fears behind closed doors. Michael feared failure. Rachel feared loss. Neither realized how quickly those fears would become reality. Lily's older brother Noah was 12. Protective, observant, far more mature than most boys his age. He often pretended Lily annoyed him. In truth, he adored her. When she disappeared, part of him blamed himself immediately. That guilt would follow him for months. The day everything changed began like any other. Sunlight filled the street. The weather was warm. Nothing about the morning suggested disaster. Lily attended school, spoke with friends, completed assignments, laughed during lunch. Teachers later described her as completely normal. No signs of fear, no signs of distress, no signs she was about to vanish. Classes ended at 3 o'clock. Security cameras captured students leaving the building. Lily appeared carrying her sketchbook beneath one arm. Noah walked beside her. Several witnesses later confirmed seeing both children. The siblings followed their usual route home, a familiar path they had taken hundreds of times. Nothing unusual happened. Nothing memorable. At least not at first. Halfway home, Noah separated from Lily. He planned to visit a friend's house. She intended to continue alone. The distance remaining was less than 10 minutes. A routine so ordinary nobody considered it dangerous. Noah later described the moment repeatedly. Every interview, every statement, every sleepless night. He remembered Lily smiling. He remembered her waving. He remembered turning away. And he remembered looking back one final time. She had already disappeared around the corner. That was the last confirmed sighting. At 3:43 p.m., Rachel expected Lily to arrive home. She didn't. At 3:50 p.m., Rachel assumed a minor delay. At 4 p.m., concern appeared. At 4:15 p.m., panic arrived. Calls were made. Friends were contacted. Neighbors began searching. By sunset, police had entered the investigation. By midnight, Maple Hollow was in crisis. The search expanded immediately. Patrol officers checked roads. Volunteers searched parks. Drones scanned wooded areas. Tracking dogs followed possible route. Nothing. The absence of evidence frightened investigators more than evidence itself. Missing children usually left traces. Footprints. Witnesses. Dropped belongings. Mistakes. Lily left nothing. It was as though she had vanished between one step and the next. Days passed. Then weeks. The town refused to stop searching. Churches organized vigils. Restaurants donated meals. Residents printed thousands of flyers. Every possible lead generated hope. Every failed lead generated heartbreak. Maple Hollow became trapped in a cycle of optimism and disappointment. Meanwhile, Ethan Mercer worked nearly every waking hour. At 44 years old, he carried the reputation of being one of the best investigators in the county. Patient, methodical, persistent. Yet beneath that reputation lived a private burden. Years earlier, he had failed to solve another missing child case. The victim was never found. The family never received answers. The memory haunted him. He never spoke about it publicly. But every time he looked at Lily's photograph, he remembered that failure. He refused to let history repeat itself. As the investigation deepened, detectives interviewed nearly everyone connected to Lily. Friends, teachers, neighbors, family members, store employees, bus drivers, classmates, anyone who might know something. Most interviews produced nothing useful. Then small inconsistencies began appearing. Tiny details, minor contradictions, statements that didn't quite fit. Nothing large enough to trigger alarm, yet enough to make Ethan uncomfortable. One name appeared repeatedly. Daniel Cross, a neighbor who lived across the street from the Bennett family. Helpful, friendly, widely respected. The sort of person nobody suspected. Daniel volunteered during searches, distributed flyers, spoke to reporters, comforted grieving neighbors. Yet every time Ethan interviewed him, something felt off. Not criminal, just incomplete. As though Daniel was carefully avoiding certain subjects. As though he feared a different truth being discovered. The feeling lingered. Ethan made a note. Then another. Then another. At the time, he still believed Daniel had nothing to do with Lily's disappearance. Eventually, that assumption would be challenged. While detectives chased leads, another clue sat untouched inside Lily's bedroom. A stack of drawings, hundreds of pages. Most appeared ordinary. Animals, flowers, trees, imaginary adventure. Nothing significant. At least that was the initial conclusion. Weeks later, investigators revisited the collection. That decision changed everything. Several drawings contained recurring details. The same group of trees, the same narrow path, the same strange shape hidden in background. At first, nobody recognized the pattern. Then Ethan did. The drawings weren't random. Lily had been sketching real locations. Locations that actually existed. Locations connected to the northern woods beyond town. The discovery forced investigators to reconsider everything. Perhaps Lily had seen something. Perhaps she had found something. Perhaps her drawings weren't imaginative at all. Perhaps they were evident. Then another breakthrough arrived. An old archive photograph recovered from municipal record. Inside the image hung a metal key attached to a circular tag. The design matched the key hidden inside Lily's drawing almost perfect. The similarity was impossible to ignore. The key belonged to an abandoned stone building north of Maple Hollow. A property forgotten by most residents. Unused for decades. Officially irrelevant. Unofficially mysterious. Ethan and Ava visited the location. The building stood alone among dense trees. Silent. Weathered. Forgotten. Or so it appeared. Fresh tire tracks surrounded the property. Recent tire tracks. Evidence of activity. Evidence that someone still visited. Search warrants followed. Investigators entered the building. The upper floors revealed nothing unusual. Dust. Debris. Decay. Then they reached the basement. Everything changed. Near the far wall sat a small wooden chair. A child's chair. Unlike everything else in the room, it was clean. Recently moved. Recently touched. The sight sent a wave of unease through everyone present. No abandoned building should contain signs of recent activity involving a child. The discovery reignited the investigation overnight. News spread rapidly. Public pressure intensified. The town demanded answers. Ethan demanded evidence. As technicians processed the property, additional clues emerged. Enough clues to suggest the building connected to something much older than Lily's disappearance. Something hidden. Something buried. Something people had worked very hard to forget. Back at the station, investigators continued reviewing Lily's artwork. One drawing attracted particular attention. A simple landscape scene. Trees. Flowers. A smiling child. At first glance, nothing unusual. Then Ethan noticed the key hidden inside the branches. The same key. The same circular tag. The same impossible detail. That was the moment sitting before him now. The moment everything finally began connecting. A child's drawing. A forgotten building. A hidden key. A missing girl. Somewhere inside those pieces waited the... Ethan could feel it. The question was whether they would find it before someone else erased the trail completely. He looked once more at the drawing. His eyes moved beyond the key. Beyond the tree. Beyond the obvious details. And then he noticed something else. Something nobody had mentioned. Something hidden even deeper inside the picture. A faint shape near the edge of the page. Almost invisible. A shape resembling the outline of a building. Not the stone building investigators had already searched. A different building entirely. A building nobody had connected to the case. Yet, and in that moment, Ethan realized the drawing was not pointing toward a single clue. It was pointing toward a destination. A destination hidden somewhere inside Maple Hollow. A destination that might finally explain what happened to Lily Bennett. Or reveal a secret far more dangerous than anyone imagined. For the first time in more than 6 weeks, Detective Ethan Mercer felt as though the investigation was finally moving. Not because they had found Lily. Not because they had identified a suspect. But because the evidence had begun telling a story. A strange story. A confusing story. A story that seemed to grow more complicated with every new discovery. The faint outline hidden near the edge of Lily Bennett's drawing haunted him throughout the night. Most people would never have noticed it. The shape blended into the background, almost invisible, almost forgotten. Yet once Ethan saw it, he could not unsee it. The next morning, he arrived at the station before sunrise. Ava Collins was already there. The photograph of Lily's drawing covered one wall of the conference room. Beside it hung aerial maps of Maple Hollow, property record, search grids, photographs from the abandoned stone building. The room looked less like a police investigation and more like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Ethan studied the enlarged image once again. Then he placed a transparency sheet over the drawing and began tracing the hidden structure. Slowly, carefully, line by line, the outline became clearer. A steep roof, a narrow chimney, a rectangular extension attached to one side. The shape looked familiar. Not familiar enough to identify me, but familiar enough to trigger memory. Ava watched quietly. Then something clicked. Her eyes widened. She crossed the room and grabbed an old county map. Within seconds, she placed it beside the tracing. Neither detective spoke. They didn't need to. The resemblance was obvious. The outline matched a building located nearly 3 miles east of the abandoned stone structure. An old caretaker's lodge hidden deep within state-owned woodland. The lodge had officially been abandoned for almost 20 years. Very few people even knew it existed. Most roads leading there had long since disappeared beneath vegetation. Yet Lily appeared to have drawn it. The discovery triggered another search operation. By midday, investigators entered the forest. The deeper they traveled, the quieter everything became. Dense trees blocked sunlight. Branches twisted overhead. The forest felt older than the town itself. Eventually, the remains of a gravel road emerged beneath the undergrowth. A few hundred yards farther, the caretaker's lodge appeared. Weathered, silent, half consumed by nature. The structure looked abandoned. But Ethan had learned not to trust appearance. The front door hung slightly open. Fresh scratches marked the handle. Someone had entered recently. Inside, dust covered most surfaces. Yet several rooms showed signs of disturbance. Footprints, scuff marks, a broken lantern that appeared far newer than anything else inside the building. Deputy Mason Brooks searched a rear storage room. Moments later, his voice echoed through the lodge. Everyone rushed toward him. Mason stood frozen. His flashlight pointed toward the wall. A series of drawings covered the wood panels. Crude sketches, made with charcoal. Some were old. Others appeared recent. Ethan stepped closer. His stomach tightened. The drawings looked remarkably similar to Lily's style. Trees, paths, buildings, symbols. The same symbols investigators had already found hidden throughout Lily's artwork. Nobody spoke. The silence felt heavy. Because if Lily had created those drawings, it meant she had been inside the lodge. And if she had been inside the lodge, the mystery became far larger than anyone imagined. Back at the station, another development unfolded. Daniel Cross had changed his story. For weeks, his statements remained consistent. Then suddenly details began shifting. Small details at first. Dates, locations, conversations. Nothing dramatic. Yet experienced investigators knew the warning sign. People rarely alter truthful memories. They alter stories. Ethan invited Daniel back for another interview. The atmosphere felt different this time. Daniel appeared exhausted. His confidence had faded. Dark circles sat beneath his eyes. His hands trembled slightly whenever certain topics arose. The interview lasted nearly 2 hours. Most questions produced routine answers. Then Ethan mentioned the caretaker's lodge. Daniel froze. Not for a second. Not for a moment. For nearly 5 full seconds. Long enough for everyone in the room to notice. His expression changed. Fear flashed across his face. Raw. Genuine. Unmistakable. You know the place. Daniel swallowed hard. Everybody used to know the place. Used to. Not anymore. Ethan leaned forward. Why are you afraid of it? Daniel looked toward the floor. Because some things should stay buried. The answer transformed the room. Ava immediately exchanged a glance with Ethan. Daniel had just confirmed something critical. There was a secret. A real secret. Not a rumor. Not a conspiracy theory. Something tangible. Something connected to the abandoned locations. Something connected to the past. The question was whether that secret also connected to Lily. Hours later, investigators uncovered another clue. A photograph. At first glance it appeared ordinary. A group picture taken during a town fundraiser 23 years earlier. Dozens of smiling faces filled the frame. Nothing unusual. Then technicians noticed an alteration. One person had been carefully removed. The photograph had been cut. Professionally. Deliberately. The missing individual stood beside Daniel Cross in the original. But who the person was remained unknown. No records identified them. No surviving copies showed the complete photograph. It was as if somebody had intentionally erased them from history. The discovery sent investigators digging deeper into Maple Hollow's past. What they found only increased their concern. Several names connected to the abandoned stone building appeared repeatedly throughout old property records. Victor Langley, Emily Harper, Daniel Cross, and others. People who had once been close friends. People who stopped speaking decades ago. People whose lives intersected around the same period. Then something happened that shifted the investigation again. Rachel Bennett finally revealed a secret she had been hiding. Not because she wanted to deceive investigators, because she never realized its importance. 3 weeks before Lily disappeared, Rachel had discovered a series of strange sketches beneath her daughter's mattress. Sketches she assumed were imaginary. Looking back, she realized they were anything but imaginary. The drawings depicted underground rooms, narrow tunnels, locked doors, maps. At the time, she thought Lily had invented an adventure story. Now she wasn't so sure. One drawing in particular captured Ethan's attention. The image showed 3 people standing near a hidden entrance in the woods. Their faces lacked detail. Yet one figure carried a distinctive cane. A cane identical to one owned by Victor Langley. The connection was impossible to ignore. Victor immediately became a major focus of the investigation. A wealthy local businessman. Respected. Influential. Careful. Too careful. When detectives questioned him, his answers remained polished. Controlled. Prepared. The kind of answers people give after rehearsing. Nothing directly implicated him. Yet nothing eliminated him either. Ethan left the interview feeling uneasy. Victor knew more than he admitted. Of that he was certain. Meanwhile, No Bennett carried his own burden. The guilt surrounding his sister's disappearance had become unbearable. Every night he replayed their final walk home. Every night he wondered whether one different decision could have changed everything. Eventually, the pressure became too much. He asked to speak with Ethan privately. The conversation lasted less than 15 minutes. Yet it changed the investigation forever. No revealed something he had never told anyone. 3 days before Lily disappeared, he saw her meeting someone near the wood. Not a stranger. Someone she appeared comfortable with. Someone she trusted. The figure handed Lily a folded piece of paper. Afterward, Lily became obsessed with drawing. The information stunned investigators, because it suggested Lily had received something. A map. Directions. A clue. Perhaps even evidence. Suddenly the drawings made more sense. What if Lily hadn't discovered the secret on her own? What if someone unknowingly guided her toward it? The possibility opened an entirely new line of inquiry. As investigators worked through the night, Ethan sat alone reviewing everything. The stone building. The lodge. The altered photograph. Daniel's fear. Victor's evasiveness. No's revelation. Rachel's hidden drawings. Each clue felt connected. Yet the complete picture remained frustratingly out of reach. Then he noticed a pattern. The dates. Every major clue pointed back to a specific year. 23 years earlier. The same year the friendships ended. The same year records disappeared. The same year the unidentified person vanished from photograph. The same year something happened in Maple Hollow. Something nobody wanted discussed. Ethan stared at the timeline. His pulse slowly quickened. For weeks, everyone believed they were investigating the disappearance of a little girl. Now he suspected they were uncovering something much larger. Something that began decades before Lily Bennett was even born. And somewhere inside that hidden history lay the reason she vanished. The realization settled over him like a storm cloud. Because if the secret was powerful enough to survive for 23 years, then whoever protected it would do almost anything to keep it buried. Including hurting anyone who got too close. Including an 8-year-old girl with a sketchbook. And for the first time since the investigation began, Ethan started to fear that finding Lily might require exposing an entire town's darkest secret. The rain arrived just before dawn. A steady curtain of gray swept across Maple Hollow, turning quiet streets into reflective ribbons of water and making the entire town feel colder than it had in weeks. Detective Ethan Mercer stood alone in the conference room, staring at a wall covered with photographs, maps, timelines, and copies of Lily Bennett's drawings. The investigation no longer resembled a missing child case. It looked like an excavation. Every clue seemed buried beneath another clue. Every answer uncovered an older question. And every road eventually led back to the same point. 23 years earlier, something had happened in Maple Hollow. Something powerful enough to reshape lives. Something important enough to hide. For weeks Ethan had focused on finding Lily. Now he was beginning to understand that finding Lily and uncovering the town's hidden history might be the same mission. The realization disturbed him. Because history had a way of creating enemies. Especially when people had spent decades protecting it. By mid-morning, investigators were reviewing records that had not been touched in years. Property transfer, insurance claims, construction permits, court documents, newspaper archives. Thousands of pages filled conference table. Most revealed nothing useful. Then Ava Collins discovered a discrepancy. A major one. A section of woodland on the northern edge of town had changed ownership 4 separate times within 18 months during the same year investigators kept encountering. 23 years earlier. The transfers made no financial sense. The land generated no revenue. Contained no valuable resources. And yet ownership repeatedly shifted between individuals connected to Victor Langley. Connected to Daniel Cross. Connected to names already appearing throughout the investigation. Someone had been moving that property intentionally. Someone wanted control of it. The question was why. Hours later, another breakthrough arrived. Technicians restored damaged photographs recovered from the hidden container beneath the abandoned stone building. One image immediately captured everyone's attention. A group of young adults stood outside a structure partially concealed by trees. Daniel Cross appeared in the picture. Emily Harper appeared in the picture. Victor Langley appeared in the picture. And standing beside them was the person removed from every other photograph. A woman named Claire Holloway. The name appeared handwritten on the back. The room fell silent. Nobody on the investigative team had encountered the name before. No current records linked her to Maple Hollow. No recent address existed. No public trace remained. It was almost as though she had disappeared. Not physically. Historically. Someone had erased her. Ethan immediately ordered a deeper search. What investigators discovered over the next 48 hours changed everything. Claire Holloway had once lived in Maple Hollow. She attended school there, worked there, owned property there. Then suddenly every official record stopped. No death certificate. No relocation records. No explanation. She simply vanished from town history. The discovery sent a chill through everyone involved. Because people do not disappear from public records accidentally. Someone makes that happen. Meanwhile, Daniel Cross sat alone inside his house watching rain strike the windows. The pressure was becoming unbearable. For decades he had convinced himself the past would remain buried. Now the past was clawing its way back to the surface. Every news report, every police vehicle, every new discovery tightened the knot in his stomach. He knew Ethan was getting closer. Closer than anyone had ever come before. And Daniel faced a choice he had avoided for 23 years. Tell the truth, or continue protecting a secret that had already ruined enough lives. Across town, No Bennett struggled with guilt. The burden had become almost unbearable. Every memory involving Lily felt sharper now. More important. More painful. He spent hours inside her bedroom studying drawings investigators had returned after processing. Most looked ordinary, until he found one hidden between notebook pages. A drawing he had never seen before. The picture showed a narrow path leading into dense woods. 3 trees stood near the entrance. Beyond them sat a structure unlike anything investigators had discovered. Beneath the image, Lily had written 6 words. The place they don't want found. No immediately called Ethan. Within an hour the drawing sat beneath bright evidence room lights. Investigators compared it against every known location connected to the case. Nothing matched. Not the stone building. Not the caretaker's lodge. Not the underground rooms. The structure remained unidentified. Yet Ethan felt certain it existed. Because Lily had never been drawing fantasy worlds. Every major location she sketched had eventually proven real. There was no reason to believe this one was different. The search expanded. New teams entered sections of woodland previously considered low priority. Drones scanned remote areas. Ground crews followed forgotten trails. Specialists reviewed historical maps. The operation became the largest search effort since Lily vanished. Days passed without results. Then another secret surfaced. One investigators never expected. Rachel Bennett finally admitted something she had hidden from police since the beginning. Not out of malice. Out of fear. Years earlier, before Noah was born, Rachel had briefly known Claire Holloway. The revelation stunned Ethan. Rachel explained that the friendship lasted only a few months. Then Claire disappeared from town almost overnight. Nobody discussed it afterward. Whenever Rachel asked questions, conversations ended. People changed subjects. Doors closed. The silence always felt deliberate. At the time she ignored it. Now she regretted that decision deeply. Because Lily had somehow uncovered a mystery that adults spent decades avoiding. A mystery connected to Claire. A mystery connected to the woods. A mystery connected to every clue investigators continued finding. The deeper Ethan dug, the more impossible the situation became. Then Daniel Cross finally broke. The request arrived late one evening. He wanted another interview. Privately. No attorneys. No media. No delays. When Ethan entered the room, Daniel looked exhausted. Years older than before. His eyes carried the weight of someone who had spent decades running from memory. For several moments, neither man spoke. Then Daniel took a deep breath. 23 years ago, something happened in those woods. The words immediately transformed the room. Ethan remained silent. Daniel continued. There was a group of us. Young. Stupid. Convinced we could keep secrets forever. Victor Langley. Emily Harper. Claire Holloway. Myself. Others. We found something underground. Something nobody expected. Daniel stopped. His hands trembled. Ethan waited. What did you find? Daniel closed his eyes. Records. Documents. Evidence. Evidence of what? Daniel's voice grew quieter. Evidence that powerful people in Maple Hollow had been hiding crimes for years. The confession felt explosive. Yet Ethan sensed there was more. Much more. What happened after you found it? Daniel stared toward the floor. Everything fell apart. Friends became enemies. People started lying. Threatening each other. Protecting themselves. Claire wanted the truth exposed. Others disagreed. Then one day she disappeared. The silence that followed felt enormous. Ethan carefully considered every word. Are you saying Claire was harmed? Daniel looked up. Fear filled his eyes. I don't know what happened to her. But I know nobody ever saw her again. The statement changed the entire timeline. For weeks, investigators believed Lily's disappearance was the central mystery. Now another mystery stood beside it. The disappearance of Claire Holloway 23 years earlier. And somehow the two cases appeared connected. The next morning, technicians finished analyzing soil samples collected from areas surrounding the caretaker's lodge. One sample contained something unusual. Fragments of concrete, metal, and traces of construction materials dating back decades. Enough evidence to suggest another structure once existed near. A structure that no longer appeared on any maps. Excavation equipment arrived within hours. The search began immediately. Hundreds of feet from the lodge, investigators uncovered the first sign. A buried foundation. Then another. Then another. What emerged over the following days shocked everyone. An entire hidden complex had once stood beneath the woods. Most of it intentionally demolished. Most of it erased. Someone had spent enormous effort removing evidence of its existence. Yet not everything disappeared. And as machinery peeled back layers of earth, investigators realized Lily's drawings had been pointing toward it all along. Not a person. Not a kidnapper. A place. A hidden place. A place connected to Claire Holloway. Connected to Victor Langley. Connected to Daniel Cross. Connected to secrets stretching back decades. The discovery transformed the investigation once again. For the first time, Ethan believed he was standing at the edge of the truth. But the truth carried a terrifying implication. If Lily discovered this hidden history before anyone else, then her disappearance may never have been random. She may have become a target because she found something she was never supposed to see. And somewhere beyond the newly uncovered ruins, beyond the lies, beyond the decades of silence, a final piece of the puzzle remained hidden. A piece capable of explaining not only what happened to Claire Holloway, but what happened to Lily Bennett as well. And Ethan was closer to finding it than ever before. The excavation site remained active day and night. Floodlights illuminated the woods long after sunset. Heavy machinery stood between towering trees like silent giants. Investigators moved constantly between tents, evidence tables, and newly uncovered sections of ground. For the first time since Lily Bennett vanished, Detective Ethan Mercer could see the outline of the... Not clearly, not completely, but enough to understand one thing. The mystery had never begun with Lily. It had begun 23 years earlier, and Lily had unknowingly stumbled into the middle of it. As more of the hidden foundation emerged from beneath the forest floor, investigators realized the structure had once been much larger than anyone imagined. Several underground rooms connected through narrow corridors. Storage areas, records rooms, maintenance tunnels. the remains of a facility intentionally erased from public memory. Every new discovery reinforced the same conclusion. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to hide its existence. The question was why. Days later, the answer finally began to emerge. Inside a partially collapsed underground chamber, investigators discovered a rusted filing cabinet protected from moisture by layers of concrete. Most of its contents had been damaged. Some pages were unreadable. Others remained intact. What survived changed everything. The documents revealed evidence of financial fraud, land manipulation, forged records, and corruption involving several influential individuals from Maple Hollow more than 2 decades earlier. Names appeared repeatedly. Some belonged to people already dead. Others belonged to individuals still living in town. Among them was Victor Langley, the respected businessman who had spent years cultivating a reputation for integrity. Suddenly many pieces began fitting together. The secret discovered by Daniel Cross, Claire Holloway, Emily Harper, and others all those years ago had been real. Claire wanted to expose it. Others wanted it buried. Then Claire vanished, and the town quietly moved on. At least on the surface. But secrets rarely stay buried forever. Eventually someone uncovers them. In this case, that someone was an 8-year-old girl with a sketchbook. The breakthrough arrived unexpectedly. A forensic analyst reviewing Lily's drawings noticed something nobody had recognized before. The recurring trees, the paths, the buildings, the symbols. They weren't separate clues. They formed a sequence, a map. When arranged in the correct order, the drawings created a route beginning near Lily's neighborhood, passing through the woods, crossing several forgotten landmarks, and ending at a location investigators had not yet searched. The destination lay beyond the excavation site, beyond the ruins, beyond the areas already connected to Claire Holloway. Ethan immediately organized a search team. By sunrise, they were moving through dense woodland guided by Lily's artwork. Every drawing matched the landscape. Every landmark appeared exactly where Lily had placed it. The realization sent chills through everyone present. Lily had not been drawing random pictures. She had been documenting a journey. Hours later, the team reached the final location. A narrow ravine hidden between rocky slopes. Almost impossible to see unless someone knew where to look. Vegetation concealed most of the entrance. The area had escaped every previous search. At the bottom of the ravine, investigators discovered a small structure built into the hillside. Weathered wood, stone supports, a concealed door. The building appeared abandoned. Yet unlike the others, it showed clear signs of recent use. Fresh footprints, food containers, batteries, blankets. Someone had been there. Recently. Ethan's pulse accelerated. The door was opened. Officers entered carefully. The structure contained several rooms. Most were empty. Then one investigator shouted. Everyone rushed forward. The room contained personal belongings. Children's books, colored pencils, sketch paper, clothing. Evidence that a child had occupied the space. Hope exploded through the investigation. For weeks many feared the worst. Now evidence suggested Lily may have been alive long after her disappearance. The discovery triggered a frantic search of surrounding terrain. Hours later, another clue. A fresh trail leading deeper into the forest. Search teams followed it immediately. The pursuit continued into the evening. Then came the moment nobody would ever forget. An officer spotted movement ahead. A small figure emerged between trees. Thin, exhausted, frightened, but alive. For several seconds nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Ethan recognized the child. Lily Bennett. 49 days after she disappeared. Against all odds. Alive. The reunion stunned the nation. News spread within minutes. Maple Hollow erupted with emotion. People gathered in church bells rang. Strangers cried. Rachel Bennett collapsed when she saw her daughter. No held his sister so tightly that neither could. For the first time in nearly 2 months, hope returned to the town. But finding Lily was only the beginning. The truth still remained hidden. Over the following days, investigators carefully interviewed. Child psychologists assisted. No pressure. No intimidation. Only patience. Piece by piece, Lily explained what happened. Weeks earlier, she discovered old documents hidden near the abandoned stone building. She did not understand their significance, but she recognized that adults became nervous whenever certain places were mentioned. Curiosity drove her. She followed clues, explored trails, made drawings, recorded locations. Without realizing it, she retraced the path Claire Holloway had followed 23 years earlier. Eventually someone noticed. Not Victor Langley. Not Daniel Cross. Not any of the people investigators suspected. The real answer shocked everyone. The person responsible was a man named Ronald Pierce, a retired surveyor who had quietly worked for several influential families decades earlier. His name appeared nowhere in the early investigation. Nobody considered him important. Nobody connected him to the old corruption scandal. That was exactly why he remained invisible. Ronald had spent years protecting secrets for powerful people. When Claire discovered the truth decades earlier, Ronald helped silence the evidence. When Lily unknowingly began uncovering the same trail, he panicked. Not because she understood the document, because she possessed enough clues to lead others toward them. Ronald intercepted her, concealed her, moved her between hidden locations. His plan was not sophisticated. It was desperate. He believed he could keep the old secret alive by preventing Lily from revealing what she found. Instead, he accomplished the opposite. The investigation that followed exposed everything. Financial crimes, fraud, conspiracies, corruption, the disappearance of Claire Holloway. Years of deception collapsed. Arrests followed. Court cases followed. Reputations shattered. Families confronted truths they had spent decades avoiding. Daniel Cross eventually testified. Emily Harper testified. Others came forward. For the first time, Maple Hollow faced its own history. The most surprising revelation emerged near the end. Investigators finally solved the mystery of Lily's drawing. For months, everyone believed the drawing pointed toward a kidnapper, a suspect, a dangerous individual hiding in plain sight. That assumption was wrong. The drawing never identified a person. It identified a secret. The key hidden inside the tree represented access to the forgotten record. The buildings represented locations connected to the cover-up. The paths represented the route linking them together. The entire drawing functioned as a map. A map created by a child who noticed details adults. The final twist changed how people viewed the case forever. Lily never intended to expose a criminal. She intended to document a mystery. The mystery exposed the criminal on its own. Months later, Leff slowly returned to Maple Hollow. Not completely. Some wounds never fully heal. But healing began. Rachel smiled again. No slept through the night. Lily returned to school. Her sketchbook remained close by, though her drawings changed. They contained less darkness, less uncertainty, more sunlight, more hope. Detective Ethan Mercer eventually visited the woods one final time. The excavation site had been. The floodlights were gone. Silence had returned. He stood among the trees and thought about everything that had happened. An 8-year-old girl noticed something adults overlooked. One drawing changed an entire investigation. One clue revealed decades of lies. One child restored the truth. As Ethan turned toward the trail leading back to town, he understood something important. The smallest details often matter most, especially the details everyone ignores. And sometimes the difference between a mystery remaining buried forever and the truth finally emerging is nothing more than a single drawing made by a curious child. If you were following the clues throughout the story, think back to the evidence that stood out most. Was it the key hidden in the tree? The abandoned stone building? The the altered photograph, or the recurring paths hidden inside Lily's artwork. Let us know which clue first caught your attention, and whether you solved the mystery before Ethan uncovered